Hi, my name is Christine Sisto, and this is my entry for the 2012 Graduation Commencement Speech Contest. They call us Generation Z, a generation characterized by our lifelong familiarity with the internet and our tendency to voice opinions online. I am sure that most of you have heard your grandparents and perhaps even your parents gripe about us, about our supposed dependence on technology, our addiction to Facebook, and maybe even our general apathy and ambivalence. Articles abound in current newspapers and magazines about how poor our writing skills are, how short our attention span is, and how antisocial we are. However, I believe our generation is grossly underestimated. After all, I am standing amongst engineers, writers, future medical and law students, and historians, to name a few of you. I do not think that those who criticize us realize the difficulties that we face. Sure, technology has made our everyday lives a little easier, but more important aspects of life, like finding a job and buying a house, are much harder for our generation to achieve. My father, who was born in 1942, made a decent living as a manager in a major bank for most of his life and never went to college. He never could have done that if he was born in 1990. Now, attending college is the minimum. Education after college is expected in order to achieve any kind of success in life. We have to work harder to achieve what our parents achieved, and the basic amenities of life are becoming more difficult to obtain. One needs only to look at the local headlines to understand that jobs are scarce. Unemployment has hit a 17-year high, and unemployment amongst people our age has hit an all-time high. I am sure most of you, can attest to how difficult not only the job search is, but also how difficult the internship search is, or rather was. And after we find that perfect job, finding a place to live has become just as difficult. Rents have risen inexorably and disproportionately to the amount of capital available. Mortgages are becoming harder to obtain, while the prices of homes remains extraordinarily high. My grandparents often remind me that they used to save quarters in a jar to pay for their down payment on a house. Had they been born in 1990, they would have to save 400,000 quarters, and then the bank would charge a handsome fee for depositing the quarters. In a wider sense, our generation also has some very important issues to solve. The world will soon look to us to help make some sense of the Israel-Palestine conflict, climate change, the issues of our economy, and the obesity epidemic, to name just a few. Previous generations, of course, had their own troubles, but few generations face the challenges that we face, and few generations have been as motivated and as prepared as we are to face the future. Therefore, to all of you parents and grandparents who complain about our generation, I am telling you that just because we own iPhones does not mean that we are lazy. If we were, we would not be standing here today. I believe, though, that GW students are among the hardest working, most motivated, and most accomplished of our generation. Harvard and Yale students can scoff at this statement all they want, but we voluntarily chose to study in a city where we are surrounded by the greatest minds in the country, and perhaps in the world. We live in a world where seeing the president on the street is no big deal, and interning on Capitol Hill or at the State Department is commonplace. We attend classes that are taught by some of the most preeminent personalities in our fields, and are therefore subject to higher expectations. In a few short years, we are expected to have had an impressive internship, studied abroad, been part of an organization, and volunteered, all while maintaining a decent GPA. When we enter the workforce, if we stay in Washington, D.C., we will be competing with the movers of the world. If we end up working in a different city, we will be judged harsher because we competed with and were taught by the movers of the world. We chose to challenge ourselves. We chose to strive to be the best in our respective fields. We knew that attending a school like GW in a city like Washington, D.C., that we would be pushed to be the best versions of ourselves. I am sure most of our professors know that the problem solvers of tomorrow are in the 2012 graduating class. So I urge my fellow graduates not to forget what we learned at GW in Washington, D.C. Surround yourself with great people so that you may learn from them. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because out of challenging situations arise greatness. And always, no matter what you do in life, do it to the best of your abilities. As it is customary for graduation speeches to include a quotation, I am obliged to share one with you. When I graduated from high school, my fellow seniors and I were required to submit a quotation that would appear in the yearbook next to our senior portrait. I chose the famous last few lines from Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. For those of you who fell asleep in your American poetry class, I will repeat those lines for you. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. As it turns out, these lines are also an appropriate quote from my college graduation. You all have already chosen to take the road less traveled. And even though it may be an intimidating world out there, all you have to do is remain on the road you chose and have the strength not to turn back. Thank you.